I would go region by region. In West Asia, we have to have a boogeyman, as you call it, Iran, to sell weapons to GCC countries. You know, you have to have the North Korea to sell weapons to the South Korea. You have to have Russia as an enemy of Europeans to sell weapons to Europeans or to other. Now, this is the policy of that would benefit the military-industrial complex. We may say that the war in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, it was a huge catastrophe strategically for the United States. But you see the role of the military-industrial complex and the way that they're feeding themselves by these wars.
Right.
And I don't know how is that possible for the United States to separate itself or somehow convince this sector of the American economy to find an alternative to make money, to make profit instead of having wars, because this is the recipe for the continuous war. This would feed the Israeli agenda of the endless war in the Middle East, or the European agenda. I'm so disappointed to say that European agenda in this endless war against Russia, it doesn't mean anything anymore. You know, they have destroyed a country called Ukraine. There is no country called Ukraine today.
Right.
You know, if Russia take Odessa, that's the end of Ukraine, in my opinion.
Well, it was World War II, I believe, that broke the United States, where we suddenly realized, hey, we can be in charge of this. We're the most powerful, and we took it upon ourselves then to try to control the world, remake the world in our image. It is, you know, that it was there that it was really started in 1948 that we started. At the end of World War II, where the United States was the hegemon. Those days are gone. The United States, still the dollar supreme. I'm not saying the United States is unimportant and can cause a lot of mayhem and destruction in the world, but its ability to fully control and dictate outcomes is over.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Larry, for being with us today.
Yeah, this was sort of a different take from what we normally do, but you know,
it was important. Yeah.
Hopefully people found it worthwhile and interesting, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. See you tomorrow.
All right, my friend.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay. Bye-bye.
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 Senior Living of Farmington, Park Residences, private retirement apartments, the community you want, the safety you want, the comfort you want, the friendships you want.
You are most welcome to this talk, and particularly a warm welcome to Professor Angus Dalgleish. Professor, welcome back. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So Professor Dalgleish is fairly well known to the channel now, Fellow of the Royal College of Physicians in the United Kingdom and Australia, Fellow of the Royal College of Pathologists, Fellow of the Academy of Medical Sciences, and currently Professor of Oncology at St George's Medical School in London, and of course a consultant oncologist, a long-term cancer doctor. So what we want to talk about this morning, Professor, if it's okay with you, is the causes of cancer. First of all, very briefly, what is cancer?
Well, cancer is a disorder of growth and differentiation of cells. Basically, they just escape from their programming. You know, they no longer read the script, as it were, and decide, like escaped prisoners, hey, this is interesting, I can do what I want. And So they start growing or spreading, etc. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. The important bit, though, is that this is a procedure that is expected and heavily regulated. So there are a lot of genes to try and prevent this, which is one of the reasons why cancers take decades in order to manifest them. Having had the first touch of the blue litmus, as it were, it takes a long, long time, and things can accelerate or switch this process off. So that's the first thing I think is really important to be aware.
I was just smiling there because I've never heard the escaped prisoner analogy before, and it just rang true with everything I know about cancer. We want to get on to the idea shortly, but is it basically true to say that cancers can be described as mutations?
Well, cancers arise as a result of a series of mutations. So you'll get a mutation in a cell, and nothing much will happen to that, except that it is less likely to die when ordered to do so. This life cycle, the cells have the same life cycle as we do. I mean, they're born, they do their job, whatever it is, then they die. And it is having a mutation that delays that dying that allows them to continue for a bit longer. And this increases just by pure random chance the chances of a second mutation occurring. And that cancer is often a result of several mutations, at least 6, and in some cancers over 60. So we know a lot of the detail, and I'm not so sure that it enables us to do as much as we'd like to prevent it. However, that's been, in a way, my sort of life's job to understand this with all the various tools at our net to be able to enable. And the one that really got me was viruses. I mean, the fact that viruses can cause cancer, particularly in mice, that's what really got me very interested in what are the real causes of cancer. And the mice were the ones where they discovered the first mutations, like the RAS oncogene. If you have this mutation in this RAS oncogene, then the cells are much more likely to survive, to get a second hit and then become cancerous. So that is where we got a lot of our information from. And interesting, a lot of these viruses in mice where we studied cancer are retroviruses. And so I got very interested in this, and this is what I did my MD thesis on. And unlike most people, I did my MD thesis after I'd finished all my clinical training. Normally, you are meant to do some registrar work and then take 2-3 years off and do a thesis. Well, I was offered many, but I never found any of their projects remotely interesting. And so I just carried on doing the clinical until I got very interested in that viruses were probably causing human cancer as well, but it was just much more subtle. And that's how I got very interested in it. And I focused on retroviruses initially because that's what you did in the laboratory. And the only virus at that time, retrovirus, that was recognized was the human T-cell leukemia lymphoma virus, HTLV1, which had been found to cause leukemia in Japan and also in the Caribbean particularly. So that was what was already known by the time I went in. And then when I started, and this gets really more interesting, is that we were able to work with this virus and see how it caused cancer, as it were. But at the time I moved in, then AIDS had become really big, and it was rumoured that a retrovirus might cause AIDS, and there was a massive search on this, and as we now know, both Montagnier in France and Gallo in America both isolated their own viruses, which turned out to be the same, and they were called HIV at that time. Now, the interesting thing for me as an oncologist at that time was that AIDS was associated with presentations of lymphomas and Kaposi sarcomas, which are both malignancies. So that's I felt justified my time delving into what was going on with this retrovirus. And just to tell you, the conclusion is it's indirect. It's not a direct transformation turning on oncogenes. No, it was indirect by removing the immune surveillance. These lymphomas and capaces popped out. They had their policemen removed, as it were, and that's so that they felt that able to multiply. They didn't have any other restraints. But the interesting thing here is what really got me is both the lymphomas and the capaces, and it took us decades later before we understood the capaces, but both of them were driven by viruses, which are sitting there very well controlled by the immune system. So you can see where I'm coming from with regards how I got interested in how viruses cause cancer, and looking around, there's viruses other than retroviruses. So that's how I got involved very much. And this is how I came across the concept of that cancers arise best in chronic inflammatory states. And the viruses are absolutely a great example of chronic inflammatory states. And if I may say, the first big example on the ward that I came across when I was working in Sydney, I was working in Sydney as a senior registrar doing medical oncology. And after 2 years I then have the qualifications to be a consultant, which I then became. But I had some very interesting cases. I was particularly interested in the hepatoma. There was a lot of hepatoma in Sydney, and hepatoma means the primary cancer of the liver. So that's it. There was a cancer of the liver, and it would kill people, and there was no good treatment. They're just starting to get some reasonable treatments now, but then it was essentially a death sentence. And I was told, particularly in my training as an internal medicine registrar in general medicine, when we had these cases, I was told that they were due to alcoholism. They were all due to alcohol. And I thought that was a bit odd, because we knew people who had lots to drink, as it were, and never got hepatomas. And then I found, when I was looking at some of the patients, they claimed not to be interested in alcohol or have given it up years ago. So I thought something's not quite true here. And so it'd been reported that by that time that a herpes virus, a hepatitis virus, hepatitis B it was called. It's fascinating because it had a link with Australia. It had an Australian antigen in it because it was found in some indigenous populations, but it was common in Asia, as was the hepatoma. So I got rather irritated that everybody was being taught that this fellow's got hepatoma and it is due to drinking alcohol. And some of these people who'd have Chinese extract weren't drinking alcohol at all. So at the time, I basically got hold of a very, very early test for this virus. In fact, it was a pathology collaborator in Sydney University who was developing a reliable test so they could identify this virus. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll get everybody who died of hepatoma, cancer of the liver, in Sydney in the last 2 or 3 years, and we are able to identify them. In their own hospital there is over 40, and so fortunately, because of the interest in this, there was serum from them, so I was able to get stored serum. And all I did was take the serum to the pathologists who developed this test, and some serum from other patients as controls, obviously, and do them so they ran through them blind. And lo and behold, all the hepatomas were hepatitis B positive. I mean, it was really quite remarkable, and all the controls were negative. I wrote that up as one of my first, what I call epidemiology papers. So I started looking at what hepatitis B does, basically it causes a hepatitis, acute hepatitis often, which is an acute inflammation of the liver and it settles down. But then it goes on to cause chronic hepatitis, and then as it goes on to a more consolidating phase, it's called cirrhosis. And it's only when you get that stage that the cancer kind of breaks out. So it's taken all this time, so it's fed by or protected by this environment of chronic inflammation. And this goes on to the point where it escapes. It's interesting, in the cirrhotic phase, there's a lot of angiogenesis there, which gives any cell that's had one or two mutations more growth factor. It's like watering the rose garden.
So the cirrhotic phase is when there's fibrous tissue in the liver.
Yes, yes.
And the angiogenesis means there's something there in this very fibrous, scarred liver.
Yes.
That's stimulating the production of brand new blood vessels. This angiogenesis.
Yes. I don't fully understand the exact mechanisms, but it's just that's the association that you see from the pathology papers. But only then do you get this, the liver cancer. Now, the other interesting thing was they were occasionally getting liver cancers that were hepatitis B negative. But they were all from people who'd had a history of hepatitis, chronic hepatitis, but they hadn't got hepatitis B. But what they had, and at this time, this was called hepatitis non-A, non-B. You remember that very well?
I remember it well. Yeah.
Well, there's now a few viruses in that group, but the dominant one was hepatitis C. And it did exactly the same. It gave you acute hepatitis, chronic hepatitis after years, and then it could lead to primary liver cancer. Now, what I was very excited about is these viruses couldn't be more different. Your hepatitis B is a big complex herpes virus like with DNA, multiple DNA, and the hepatitis C is a little RNA virus. And yet, completely different, they induce the same thing. So I got very interested in pathogenesis. It was the principle and the story that was required for cancers to evolve. So this was the first insight. It's not confined to a specific virus like hepatitis B. Any virus that induces this inflammation can cause it. So that's when I got really, really interested in the viruses that cause cancer. I think it's worthwhile pointing out at this moment, I already then realised that there are a lot of other viruses that can cause cancer. And the next high profile one is human papilloma virus, which in my lifetime and I remember reading the papers in Nature saying it was caused by herpes simplex virus. Big complex papers saying absolute proof. And also rejection of people who said it's due to another virus. This virus turned out to be the human papilloma virus, which is the cause, but it wouldn't grow. That was the problem. It wouldn't grow in the culture, so that's why it was thought not to be a real virus, but it was identified with molecular biology and everything in the end. And so that was another example. And that virus actually is very, very important. It causes a chronic inflammation in the mucosa. And that's what leads, you have to have that for quite a long time before you get the cancer developed. The same principle, same story. We now know it's associated with mouth cancers. Over 50% of mouth cancers are driven by human papilloma virus. Esophageal cancers and throat cancers and some lung cancers have this human papilloma virus driving the cancer. So at a stroke, you've got the enormous number of cancers that are common, that we recognise, caused by viruses. So just to recapitulate, We've done the hepatitis ones, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and I mentioned the ones associated with HIV, the lymphomas, which we now know is EBV-driven, Epstein-Barr virus, and the Kaposi sarcoma, which is driven by a herpes virus, which again was only discovered relatively recently, HHV6.
So I said, I'm trying to play Frere Jacques. If you would
by
go,
the
oh,
problem
what
of
are
the
you
immune
doing?
system.
I'd be like, I'm playing Frere
Then you have
Jacques.
the papilloma virus is clearly
You know,
was a...
they say to each and every action, there is an equal or opposite response. Reaction, reaction, action, reaction. I mean, is that always true? I'm trying to play Frere Jacques. Wait, I can do it.
Seizing the opportunity, units executed a pit maneuver, but the driver regained control.
There's something
and
Latina
continued
part I
fleeing.
gotta work on. Some of that.
Out of it. Still coming towards the window down through the plant right now.
Okay, and practice that. We're doing Frere Jacques on the
Then entered a
harmonica.
residential area,
You
crashed
can do
through a
it.
fence and came to a stop.
What are you gonna do it on? The harmonica? Yeah, I'm using the harmonica. You can use the tambourine.
The suspect exited the vehicle and fled on foot. The individual was quickly apprehended by a police dog unit and taken into custody. The driver was later charged with driving under the influence, fleeing, causing damage, and resisting, and was sentenced to imprisonment according to law. Arkansas. On October 8, 2024, an officer observed Adam
I got
Brackett
one more
operating
line
a Ford
after that.
Expedition with a mismatched license plate. When signaled to stop, the suspect fled, driving recklessly, repeatedly traveling against traffic and nearly causing collisions.
Can I just do the ding dang dong part? If I keep doing it though, I'll probably be able to do it without even looking at the notes. That hurt my brain. Not really. I like that. It felt good.
The officer executed 3 TVI attempts.
It
in
works
succession.
different
The
muscles
first 2 caused the vehicle to
as
lose
far as
control
memory,
and spin
pattern
before it quickly
recognition,
continued fleeing.
combining. You know, like playing a musical instrument is a good example of that. Learning the notes, having to read the notes and do the to have it flow. There's a memorization there too, yeah. But I mean, for some, a lot of people just learn the patterns. They never even learn the notes. Like, hot cross buns, hot cross buns. You didn't know there was an A, B, C involved with it or whatever. It's just these notes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1.
attempt, the vehicle was pushed into a ditch, crossed a yard, and came to a stop near a line of trees.
Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? Brother John, Brother John. That was not showing their hands. They pulled off. Morning bells are ringing. Morning bells are ringing. Ding, ding, dong. Ding, ding,
Brackett fled on foot but was quickly apprehended. Officers seized 1.9 grams of methamphetamine.
I remember
The
that
suspect was
officer
transported to the
where
Cleveland
he kept
County
telling him to
Detention
put his
Center and
hands up.
faces charges
He was
including
just,
drug possession,
why isn't he listening?
reckless driving, fictitious plates,
It
no
was the
registration,
greatest.
no insurance.
I mean, it
and
was in
driving
the
with a
moment. It
suspended
was so
license.
funny. I mean, people literally dropped to the floor laughing. Why isn't he listening?
Norwood. An officer observed Ryan
It was
Brown
just a
driving over
moment,
lane
you
lines
know,
and
one of
suspected
those
impairment,
moments.
initiating a stop. But the suspect failed to comply and continued at approximately 50 miles per hour.
Why won't he listen? And now they're running.
During the escape, Brown struck a parked vehicle, then reversed onto the sidewalk and continued fleeing.
It is quite complex and full of different soldiers, as it were. It leads to a big influx of white cells like neutrophils, for instance, and macrophages, what have you. But the T cells can't get there because becomes a very inflammatory environment. And we now know that if you do have a lot of neutrophils in your blood with a cancer patient and very few lymphocytes, that's a very bad prognosis. If you can convert that so you have a healthy T cell and you reduce the number of white cells, then you have a much better prognosis. There's several papers have been reported over the last 2-3 years just pointing out this fact and saying, I wonder why that is. How does that occur? Because, like you were saying, implying that lots of white cells means a good immune system, means it will control it. No, this is a very good thing. It highlights that the immune system is a delicate balance between T cells, the frontline warriors, your front line of the army, as it were. And when they encounter a foreign invader, like COVID, for instance, they charge up and they beat it up and they send signals to the B cells, which take a while to kick in, especially for a new one, and then they make antibodies. And then your program memory cells, so when you meet it next time, you should make the antibodies very quickly. They program that. But what we find is this natural balance is disturbed, and when we wrote these papers, we've done many papers and books and chapters on this, is when you have the chronic inflammation, this balance is completely disturbed. So the T cells are completely suppressed, and we found out it was no different in patients with TB, HIV and cancer. It's a remarkable similarity, and therefore a potential, can you use something to restore those T cells, and would it work and help in HIV, TB and cancer? Well, of course, that is where we realised that there was something that did that, and that was these mycobacteria that were being used for TB. They were then shown in HIV patients to reduce their chances of getting TB. Big papers published in what then was a useful, reliable journal, The Lancet, which I don't believe in anything published there now, because it seems to be a purely political journal now.
It used to be the absolute gold standard in the old days, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been totally perturbated. I think it is tragic and a disgrace. And so that's basically what put it together. And then out of that, I must give credit to Graham Rook and John Stanford. John Stanford sadly has passed away now, but they realised that BCG made a difference. There was a problem. There was a problem with it, and they wanted to make it better. It's a story in its own right, but they discovered Mycobacterium vaccae was the core to getting a good, reliable immune response in TB, patients exposed to TB, and patients with HIV to stop them getting TB. When I looked at this, what they were doing, I took a great interest in this concept. I realised this funny heat-killed organism was able to reverse the seesaw. It was able to boost the T cells and, more importantly, suppress the over-enthusiastic and actually dangerous chronic inflammatory responses of neutrophils and macrophages. And that's exactly what it does. And then I said, well, this is exactly what's going on in cancer, courtesy of my big interaction with Ken O'Byrne. Anything that boosts the T cell response, dampens down the inflammation, can only be a good thing. So that's how I ended up getting hold of the M. vaccae, and in the days before the European Union Clinical Trial Directive, which is a mechanism to stop innovative, creative and useful studies by academics such as myself.
This is when you were allowed to be a doctor.
When you were allowed to be a doctor. I basically said I want to do a trial of this in my patients. We don't have any, at that time we had nothing, and they would go for anything, and I was very happy to try anything providing it wasn't not toxic. At the time, we were allowed to give them interferon, which I was only in the clinic for a few months, and I said, this drug's ridiculous. And remember, it had been approved. I said, I'm not impressed by any benefit, but I am impressed by the side effects. They're just unacceptable, particularly for patients with low volume disease. So I switched to the studies with M. vaccae, and it was no time at all you could see that there was great benefits, much better than interferon, using this. And that trial, I was able to write, dear sirs, I've got this stuff, I'd like to try it in the cancer patients. It's been given to thousands of people with HIV and TB, so there's no problem there, this, that and the other. And then at the end of the month, the chairman of the ethics committee said, we don't see any problems with it, off you go. I say that because anybody will laugh at this, knowing if you want to do a trial now, you're looking 6 months, a year to get started, unless you've got big pharma behind you who suddenly decide that they want to get this out as soon as possible. Then all these obstacles seem to disappear, as we found with COVID vaccines and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And if this Mycobacterium vaccae vaccine was available, I would have it, because I think if it boosts my T cell response, it's going to reduce the probability of cancers developing.
Well, exactly. And as I said at the time, and I offered it to Whitty, that we did actually have enough of the vaccine to do every frontline hospital staff in the COVID crisis. And they turned it down, there's not enough evidence. Can you believe it? That means not enough understanding or common sense on the grounds of the people who should know better.
So it's a pity, because not only would these people have been protected from viral and bacterial infections by the upregulation of the T cell response, we'd also potentially have a massive reduction in cancers in all health service employees over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Well, I mean, that's a ludicrous solution to jump to, if I may say so. But
it's one that should be tested.
But I suspect you are right. Do you know why I suspect you are right? Because I've tried to keep busy, as you know, and I've been to all sorts of immunology meetings, virus meetings and cancer treatment things. And one of the little groups I was in, which is basically a sort of clinical immunology and diseases in humans that are difficult, one of the things that staggered me, because I became a great fan of BCG, which is why I got it, but you can't use BCG more than a couple of times, otherwise you get a negative response.
This is the standard vaccine against tuberculosis.
Yeah, exactly. So I got very interested in that, and I realised that you needed a stimulation you gave repeatedly, and that BCG doesn't do that. So that's why we got into these heat-killed ones, which do. So just explaining that bit. But the reason I suspect you're completely right was that at one of these meetings, I think it was one we had in Cambridge, there used to be a nice place where we could chat, go to the local pub as usual, that sort of thing, and chat over it. And one of the things that they had found in long-term follow-up for BCG done in Africa was the guy presented, because they were able to do long-term follow-up, which you can't do in most grants these days because they're 5 years or something. So what they found and what they presented, they said, we've got some data here and it's real and we really didn't believe it and we can't understand it. It said, but in our cohorts of children given BCG in Africa, we've compared them to children in those countries where they wouldn't let us give BCG. I mean, there are such things. And it said, it's amazing. It said, the people who got BCG as children, 50 years later, they have lower incidence of heart attacks and cancer. So that means at that early stage, their immune systems were set like this seesaw, with the T cells a bit damped down, but it had corrected it. And that equilibrium was enough for them to come across all sorts of things the rest of their life, and to have a lower incidence of heart disease and cancer. So that's why I said your statement was ludicrous, because I mean that's what I'd say to myself, because I make those things. I said, but here, to my amazement, I must say it is the one paper at that conference I remember. I don't even remember my own paper.
I can make plenty of ludicrous statements, but it's nice to have it discussed by someone with your experience.
But I think you're absolutely right. But we can't make claims for products you have an invested interest in, because they won't allow you.
Yeah.
Because I've always played with the idea you have a new drug, you think you could call it like Curamycin or Wondercillin. You're not allowed to do that because it implies untested efficacy, so that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah. I think I'm starting to understand that cellular imbalance now, because if you've got chronic inflammation, presumably that's going to alter the cytokine profile of the local area of the tissue. And cytokines are actually specific to particular immune cell types, so it's not. I think it's important actually to relate these things back, because this does make sense in terms of basic science.
It does.
So what you're discussing has got complete scientific credibility, as well as provisional, pretty convincing empirical evidence, and it just seems tragic that this isn't being followed up, especially when the risk-benefit analysis is so positive.
Exactly.
Because what the heck is the risk of giving a few heat-attenuated mycobacteria vaccae into my arm? I can see pretty well no risk from that, and yet the upsides are potentially immense.
No, as you say, there are no risks, and there haven't been any risks in all these studies, because it is heat inactivated.
Yeah.
Viral
giving a precise known dose. It's not like one of these RNA viruses where you could produce 6 viral particles or 6 trillion viral particles.
It's totally safe because it's heat killed. It can never be resurrected to life like RNA or BCG. See, BCG is attenuated. This is life. And I have dealt with 2 patients over my time who were on BCG in trials we did in collaboration with the Donald Morton, John Wayne Institute. A lot of the vaccines had BCG as the adjuvant. Occasionally they can cause lymph nodes, and you find these patients have got a very low level of TB. Fortunately, it's very easy to kill because it's attenuated. You can just do it with a short course of rifamycin. It's very easy. But that's the 1%. But it's still there. So the fact we don't have to worry about that whatsoever, it gives us, confidence that we're not going to do any harm with this.
Well, one of my early memories about working with cancer patients as a young staff nurse is so many women coming in with
When conditions allow,
advanced
officers
cancers,
execute a
pathological
physical
fractures,
training.
horrible things after cervical cancer, and that's another human papilloma virus.
Yes, very
Chronic
much so.
inflammation. Yeah. The term retrovirus. Can you just unpack that a little bit? What's the difference between a virus and a retrovirus?
After multiple attempts,
Well,
the SUV was boxed
A
in.
retrovirus is a virus,
Coming to a stop.
first of all.
Yep.
So it's a subclassification.
Subclass,
It's a subclassification. Most viruses that we associated with cancer in humans have been herpes virus, like the hepatitis B virus, like the Epstein-Barr virus, for instance. I mean, they're the big ones, and the Kappa C.
These are the big DNA viruses.
Big DNA. Now, DNA makes RNA,
Stopped.
which makes protein,
Jorge,
which makes money, as one of the as one of the people in the Cambridge molecular laboratory, laboratory of molecular biology in Cambridge, said. I can't remember which one that was.
Sad but true.
I think it was Sanger or Perutz, these big guys who were there. But I always remember them saying that because they were predicting the biotech revolution. So your DNA makes RNA, makes protein, but a retrovirus is an RNA virus that codes the other way. So it goes into DNA and recodes that to produce whatever it does and make its proteins to replicate, etc. And in that little definition that I've just told you, I think I've just told you why I believe messenger RNA viruses are so dangerous.
Yep.
Completely, utterly dangerous, and why I've been campaigning for them to be banned. And, you know, I'm used to all sorts of insults, and I know that I was told I'm just a cancer doctor, what do I know about viruses, etc., all this. But I have been...
Well, you're just the most senior oncologist in the country, but we'll pass that point over now.
But I wouldn't necessarily say that. But I have been on many scientific boards of companies developing vaccines, and you know, gone into it great depth. And I have been on the board of a company that purely focused on making messenger RNA vaccines. So I mean, I was on the board for 5 years of that in my cycle, and I got to know that there was a big problem. And that big problem, I left that board 7 years ago, and I now know that problem's still not been sorted, and that this pandemic was used as an excuse to get round all the problems that the regulatory people wouldn't let them go through before. That's a terrible thing. But that explains what a retrovirus is. It is actually an RNA virus that can go into the DNA and reprogram it. And in mice, and we know they've only got one human virus that does that, the HTLV1. They reprogram it and you get cancer. So it's a big risk.
Well, congratulations on leaving that when you did. Now, this DNA makes RNA makes protein is what we call the central dogma, isn't it? Genetics. You know, every student learns that DNA makes RNA makes protein. But we clearly know that these retroviruses, RNA makes DNA. It goes the other way round. And of course, that DNA can make more RNA, which makes more makes more protein. Now, in order to get RNA to go to DNA, we need an enzyme called reverse transcriptase.
That's right, yeah.
So transcription is the DNA to the RNA. The reverse transcription is the RNA to the DNA.
Yes.
Now, that reverse transcriptase enzyme, which is essential, is that produced as an endogenous product of human cells, or is that always coded for by RNA that comes in with the virus?
Where the virus is involved, it encodes it itself. It has its own reverse transcriptase thing.
So the RNA in the virus itself codes for its own reverse transcriptase.
And that is what provided the first target for treating HIV. They used reverse transcriptase inhibitors so it wouldn't be able to integrate and have the life cycle. So that yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unfair question, really, but is there endogenous reverse transcriptase? Do human cells produce reverse transcriptase, or do we know that?
I will be very honest here, I'm not sure, and I'm speculating, but we do have endogenous retroviruses, a large number of them in the genome.
That accumulated over millions of years of evolution.
Accumulated over millions of years of evolution. And they can escape, as it were, and we think that other viruses help these escape, because this is the pathogenesis of multiple sclerosis. There's a lot of work out there to suggest that these sleeping dormant retroviruses, which just part of our genetic baggage that we come with, about 90% of our genome is so-called baggage. And that's another fascinating thing, is why do we carry it around? And just for the viewers, the simplest solution is, I think it is, if you imagine you pass all your genes on all the time, and they're just a big baggage of genes, how are you going to make maximum use of it? Whereas I think that 90% of baggage is the equivalent of a library's shelving and retrieval. So it allows you to put the useful genes in an order and assembly. You can retrieve them when you need them. I want them. I mean, it's not been proven, but that's a speculation which I feel most comfortable when discussing these. So what happens with the so-called multiple sclerosis is that an enzyme, another virus comes in and helps provide a reverse transcriptase that virus does not have, and enables it to wake up and start sleeping. Multiple sclerosis, we still don't know exactly what's going on, but I think that's the closest model to it, and there's other complications in that it's very genetically restricted, and it's clearly got an autoimmune component to it. So I just wanted to answer your question, but I don't want to get into multiple sclerosis.
No, I would love to, because we'll try and stick to the topic. So I think basically what we're saying is we have this idea that we're in a milieu of viruses. Epstein-Barr virus, for example, I assume we've all been exposed to that.
Exactly.
And we live with all these viruses. Most of the time they're kept down by an active immune system. Chronic inflammation comes along, messes up with this cellular differential. We get more of these neutrophils. Neutrophils, of course, are brilliant if you've got a bacterial infection. It's exactly what you want.
Exactly.
But it's not what you want if you've got chronic inflammation.
Yeah.
Suppresses the T cells, and it's this chronic inflammation that leads to the development of cancers. And that kind of combines the initiator and promoter model of cancer, really, doesn't it?
It does. And can I just add an extra piece of information that I forgot to show that the chronic inflammation causing cancer is a reality, and that interfering with this is a reality, is that the experiment has already been done. Rather like the BCG and TB, looking beyond that, how it actually reduced cancer and heart attacks 50 years later. Remember, they did big studies looking at the effect of aspirin. Now, aspirin is an anti-inflammatory agent which blocks COX-2 pathways, and it also blocks prostaglandins, and therefore propensity to clotting. And
in other words, it reduces the production of inflammatory
yes. So we know that it made a difference for heart, but once again, those big studies also gave a signal that the people on the aspirin had a lower incidence of colon cancer. And so that's a perfect example of serendipity. You set this study out to do one thing, but if you broaden it and look and ask other questions, and it showed that anti-inflammatories would reduce the incidence of colon cancer, and aspirin was ideal. Unfortunately, aspirin is very cheap and easy to get and take. it has the problem that if you take it as a tablet and you don't take it with meals, it can give you gastric problems and bleeding, and occasionally, very occasionally, the bleeding can be fatal. And the problem is that a GP only needs to have one or two of these in his life, and he gets very wary about advising aspirin at all. But that is to forget that aspirin, you can have it in a low dose for the clotting, 75, but you need higher than that for its anti-inflammatory. But I've always advised that if you take the anti-inflammatory soluble with a meal, it greatly reduces, and I do that myself. I mean, that's the way. I would not have an aspirin in the middle of the day for a headache, because that'd be guaranteed problems. If I need a headache, and sometimes sinusitis, it is the best treatment for a chronic sinusitis. I just pop the soluble in, and I take it, and if it's urgent in the middle of the day, then I'll take a yogurt with it. It's something to protect the stomach. So all these, sort of sensible, logical things to do can get to work through. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a great believer in daily anti-inflammatory tablets for everybody over 40 to reduce these pathways. I mean, you might be targeting the one for colorectal, it's probably preventing others. It looks like it has a benefit on lung cancer as well. But there's plenty of other anti-inflammatories which can be looked at and for prevention. Now, the other causes of chronic inflammation, I mean, smoking is obvious. So I'm not going to waste any time on that. I mean, most people who present with lung cancer have a history of chronic inflammatory upper respiratory diseases every winter, chronic bronchitis, etc. They get admitted to hospital, and eventually they're found to have the cancer. That's a fairly logical one.
And it's obvious smoking's going to contribute to the chronic inflammation, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is.
But is the time a direct carcinogen as well? Is it kind of a double whammy?
It's double whammy. I'm absolutely sure it's a double whammy. In fact, there's so many carcinogens in smoke, we don't know which one is doing it. It's just, you just increase your risk. It's as simple as that. But what I wanted to get onto, there is another cause of chronic inflammation, which is driving up cancer of all sorts. Initially, the signal was renal cancer. People wondered, what on earth causes renal cancer? And then it was womb cancer, uterine cancer, endometrial cancer. What on earth causes these? This is, I think, is the most fascinating link ever. The link is with obesity. Now, obesity, if you have to describe it, put it in a pathologist's pot, as it were. They only have a few pots, but everything has to squeeze into one of them. Obesity squeezes into chronic inflammatory state. Yes. If you are obese, you have far more cells than the thin person next to you. And therefore, they need feeding, and they need turning over, and they produce their own inflammatory growth factors, etc. And so obesity is a chronic inflammatory state. So probably the very best way we could reduce cancers in this country would be to prevent obesity and do everything that's required for it to reduce it, because it is associated, we're much more likely to have all the cancers.
Pretty well all of them, all the common ones.
All the common ones.
Yeah.
So that to me, this is really like reaching the peak of the mountain of this, because it is so overwhelmingly explains why these people have more cancers. A couple of very simple things. First of all, because they're really obese and big, they've got a lot more cells. And when you've got a lot more cells, you've got a lot more opportunity that one of those might go malignant, just on a random alone. Let alone the fact that the more there are, like people in a room, they huddle up, the warmer they get. And that sort of warmness is an inflammatory state, producing more warmness, more growth factors, more immune suppression. So that's...
I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting. I assumed that in obesity the adipocyte number this fat cell number was fairly constant, and they just kind of swelled up and got bigger and bigger. But there's actually an increase in the number of the cells present.
Well, that's a very, very good technical point. And I'm not qualified to answer that. I'd actually want to research that. But this let's move to a paradigm. It's certainly true that bigger people, genetically, without being obese, are more likely to get cancer because they're more likely to they've got more cells.
We've got more cells, yeah.
For the random mutation. Yeah. And we know that that's the case in dogs too. The bigger dogs much more likely to get cancer than the smaller dogs.
Interesting. So my thinking here would be then that the amount of fat, whether it's more fat cells or whether it's full fat cells, that's going to cause an abnormality in the function of the cell that causes these cells to release inflammatory mediators systemically. Is that kind of what's going on?
Well, it must be in a way, because if you eat too much, do you get fat? And as you say, these cells go into adipose tissue, and they are there to deal with excess fuel, to store it in times of when there is none, as it were. And that's one of the reasons why people in the Pacific, Indonesian islands, why they're so big in the Maoris, because they adapted. In good times, they got big, because they'd have to sail the oceans for several days without any food at all, and that extra capacity allowed them to do that. The problem is with obesity, there's no downside. So they keep going on, storing, and that interferes with all the metabolic pathways. Diabetes is one of the obvious, very common
vascular disease and everything that go with that.
Yeah.
Right. So this is so interesting. So all the common cancers, so lung, bowel, prostate, breast, pancreas, esophagus, liver, bladder, obesity is a potential factor, maybe to varying degrees of etiology, but a potential factor in all of these really common cancers.
Yes. And of course, in two of those, breast and prostate, you have the hormonal aspect as well. But then the hormonal aspect can be affected by chronic inflammation and immune status. So that's very complex. I mean, I think the breast and prostate are more complex because of the hormonal aspect. But to me, prostate is more understandable than breast. I think breast is much more complex with regards to the real cause of inflammation. Obviously, hormone has a lot to do with it. But males get breast cancer too. Obviously, not nearly as common. It shows that it's so. The hormonal aspect just makes it much more likely, but the other aspects can also be affecting these tumours as well.
I tend to think of the male breast as being like a prepubescent female breast in a way. There's still like a basic ductal system there that can be stimulated, and of course men do get breast cancer. It's physical activity. Is that? I mean, it's good, obviously, but in terms of cancer, is it protective, do you think?
I don't think I know. And
that's a very revealing answer, actually.
Yeah, they're very detailed results in mice where they're all identical, they're all given the same stimulating factors to develop cancer. They're known to get cancer eventually, so so it's a very good model for what you can do to reduce the cancers. So they've done, and this has been repeated many times, you'd have mice which just walk around the cage, and then there's mice that have the opportunity to run in a wheel for a certain amount of time a day, and this is all monitored. So the ones that have a lot of exercise develop tumours far slower than those that don't do a lot of exercise. And I'm sure, unlike quite a few things where the mice doesn't quite translate the human condition, I'm sure this is very relevant.
I mean, it's good to be physically fit anyway, so it's generally. Just run, if you don't mind, just a few minutes to run through some of the common causes that that I used to teach my students about, certainly. Sun and ultraviolet radiation.
Yes.
Just skin cancers or anything else could be involved in that?
Well, that's inducing a chronic inflammatory state in the skin. And when I was trying to work out, what was going on with melanoma, I said, what's causing this? And I actually at a conference actually said there's a great irony that all the cancers seem to be involved with chronic inflammation except the one that I've been given to treat melanoma. And actually, the pathologist came to me afterwards and said it's no different. He said, I can tell melanoma patients just looking at their normal skin, because they don't have normal skin, they have a sort of chronic inflammatory fibrous skin. And he also said that is one of the reasons for your other big quest, is why do so many melanoma patients have such low vitamin D levels? And he said it's the skin has become inflammatory and no longer does that vital conversion for the sunshine vitamin, as it were, as we know from the title of one of David Grimes' books. Yeah. And so that is why. So even the melanoma it is a chronic inflammatory state which leads to a propensity for the melanoma.
Wow, it really fits in well. And vitamin D, of course, which we know, I think I'm safe in saying that we know low vitamin D levels are involved in the etiology of many cancers. And that is, vitamin D is it activates many genes and controls genetic expression, but it's also anti-inflammatory, isn't it?
Yes, it is very anti-inflammatory. It's absolutely vital for the immune system, and it's actually vital for the inflammation. I remember when I was doing really hard research on this, and I found that a very good papers in immunology, you do not have an adequate level of vitamin D, then your activated CD8 cell, it will latch on to an antigen on a tumour cell, and it will just sort of kiss it and go away.
So the CD8 is the T helper cell, isn't it?
Well, no, the T killer cell. The activate T killer cell.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's a CD. Yeah, I always get CD4 and CD8 mixed up. That's it. Yeah, CD8 is the killer cell. Sorry, the cytotoxic cell.
Yeah, and the CD4 is the helper cell that gives it all the signals.
That's it. Yeah.
So the CD8 won't kill that tumour cell unless there's a healthy level of vitamin D. So vitamin D is actually required for the T cells to do their job. And then I found another paper that says that there's excessive antigen production in low levels of vitamin D. Well, this appears to be a paradox initially, but no, when you look at it very carefully, it's dendritic cells presenting the primary antigens to the immune system to program it. And if it's low vitamin D, it's not very good at presenting just the necessary ones. It gets sloppy, and this leads to autoimmune disease. And so this is why autoimmune disease is associated with low vitamin D. And most people working in autoimmune diseases, now one of the first things they do is pick up on low vitamin D and treat it. And one of the first, this was recognised, was multiple sclerosis. And multiple sclerosis, the first thing you do is correct their low vitamin D levels, and that's the start on the path to treatment and being able to help them, because it is basically an autoimmune disease tackling your own myelin.
Yeah. Different radiations as a cause of cancer. X-rays, for example, X-ray exposure, or what would be the mechanism there? Can the radiation physically damage the genetic material? That's what I always taught.
Yeah, and it's right.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of dose and time. That's why we can safely use X-rays, because the dose is very, very low. And also why that we get worried about people who need X-rays frequently for long periods of time, and we go out of our way, like people who need a lot of CT scans, for instance. They're now much lower radiation, but we'd switch to the MRI, which doesn't do that. So we've got an alternative, or echo. A lot of tumours and things can be done with very, very sophisticated echoes.
And that gives another cause of cancer, which is iatrogenesis, caused by medical treatment.
It's fortunately quite rare now. Yeah, I think it is very rare. In fact, the things that come to mind are more radiotherapy causing other diseases later in life, like heart problems and people who had their chest irradiated for Hodgkin's when they were very young. But once again, we no longer give too high a dose, and two, we're much better at focusing it and avoiding structures that might be damaged by it.
Yeah, that's good. And of course, in the iatrogenic category, you already mentioned there people that have had transplants and need chronic drugs to suppress the natural body's natural repression. Is it true that they are more prone to certain cancers?
Yes, sir.
After years of immunosuppression?
Absolutely, especially skin cancers. Very interesting, of all sorts.
Shall we recommend people to have a good diet and avoid junk food?
Well, obviously, this links in with obesity, because obesity is associated mainly with junk food. I mean, I've done my own observations of what do fat people eat, and they have a terrible diet. And
this is a common observation. We see this repeatedly, don't we? I mean,
yeah. And the other thing, they seem to be eating all the time, even while driving.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite impressed. Now, so a good healthy diet is important not only to avoid being overweight, but you need a high fibre diet in order to have a good microbiome in the gut, which basically means you have a good, healthy immune system. So the diet even helps program your immune response and your immune system. And of course, in the absence of the right amount of sun and everything, a major part of that is vitamin D. Vitamin D, and it's a fat-soluble vitamin. But actually, as David Grimes pointed out, the tragedy of vitamin D was it was found after vitamin C, i.e. it's not a vitamin, it's far more important than a vitamin.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we've just done an excellent recording with Dr. Grimes, which will be...
I can't believe people.
Really? I thought they wanted to pull over.
Please pardon the phone break. If you were the cop, do you think that would be kind of exciting?
A little bit, I have to admit.
Scary, yeah, too.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get brake checked, they'll slam on the brakes. Gotta be careful. Get some passenger hanging up the window, like showing I have no weapon. So they get an innocent passenger in the side that's like, I got nothing.
I bet the passenger wants him to stop.
Probably that happens a lot. They'll be telling the driver to pull over. It's like why not just pull over?
When
It's not
conditions
worth
allowed,
it.
officers executed another pit maneuver,
Even
causing
if-
the vehicle to come to
See,
a
they
stop.
got eyes in the sky. They'll just follow them.
Yeah. You're not even if you get away from their cars, you're not getting away from that helicopter. Even then, they have your license plate, your car model. Oh my god, they have your license plate, your car. They already know everything about you the second they start chasing you. It's like, where do you think you're going?
Right. Exactly. But sometimes people do get away crazily. They have to chase them in the woods sometimes.
Yeah.
Very rarely do people get away, and if they do, they usually wind up catching them every few weeks.
Yeah.
The suspect was taken into custody. One passenger was identified as an unrelated victim and was transported for emergency treatment. The suspect later faces multiple charges, including vehicle theft, dangerous fleeing, false imprisonment, and drug-related offenses.
False.
Because of the passenger.
Oh.
Florida. On September 17,
Remember I said
2023,
false.
police received information that Henry Lee Gamble Coleman was operating a stolen Toyota Corolla. At the time of the attempted stop, the suspect
I had to grab my cup. Take you out some breakfast. Or lunch, should I say? Breakfast, lunch.
rest with sticks. There's Ramos.
The vehicle was driven recklessly through multiple areas, with items being thrown out. Officers deployed spike strips, damaging the tires, but the suspect continued driving before being stopped at a dead end.
There's a lot of firm equipment in the vehicle. He's moving around a lot in that vehicle. He's on rims on passenger side of the vehicle, passenger front, passenger back, both rims.
Coleman fled on foot but was quickly apprehended by a police dog unit and taken into custody. He faces charges including vehicle theft, assault on law enforcement, and fleeing to evade. King George County, Virginia. On March 12, 2024, deputies observed a vehicle connected to a robbery and began following it. The suspect immediately accelerated away, ran red lights, and sped at high speed across multiple roadways. He repeatedly weaved, made sudden lane changes, and at times even turned off the headlights to avoid detection. Officers then deployed spike strips without success, and the vehicle continued at high speed before colliding with a civilian vehicle, losing control and coming to a stop. Officers quickly approached, subdued the driver, assisted in removing a trapped passenger, and transported victims for emergency treatment.
Stay right there where you're at! Don't move! Don't move!
Yes, there's a passenger! Put your hands behind your f***ing back!
One passenger died. The case was transferred to the appropriate authorities for processing according to procedure. North Little Rock. On September the 21st, 2021, Sergeant Harris observed a vehicle speeding and being operated recklessly. Upon noticing the signal to stop, the driver immediately fled.
I'm 1037. Don't be on the guard to drive in now.
Officers made multiple attempts to execute a pit maneuver, but were unsuccessful as the vehicle repeatedly evaded and slowed down. Shortly after, officers deployed the tactic again, causing the vehicle to spin sideways and come to a stop. suspect was taken into custody and faces charges including lane violations, speeding, reckless driving, property damage, driving under the influence of substances, no seatbelt, driving with a suspended license, no insurance, failure to stop at a red light, and driving against traffic. Arkansas. On February 23, 2023, an officer observed Travis Bailey driving an orange Range Rover with a mismatched license plate. When signaled to stop, the vehicle accelerated away, driving recklessly, repeatedly passing vehicles and forcing others off the roadway. Corporal Wold deployed spike strips on I-540, but the attempt was unsuccessful and caused damage to another vehicle. The suspect continued driving until multiple units coordinated another deployment, forcing the vehicle to stop. Bailey fled, but was quickly apprehended. A check showed he was driving with a suspended license and had multiple warrants from Fort Smith. The suspect was transported to the Crawford County Detention Center, facing charges including reckless driving, dangerous fleeing, resisting arrest, and violations related to failure to appear and failure to comply with a summons. Arkansas. On December 8, 2025, officers observed a driver operating a vehicle at high speed and committing traffic violations. When signaled to stop, the individual failed to comply and accelerated away. During the pursuit, the vehicle weaved and posed a danger to other motorists. When conditions allowed, officers executed a pit maneuver, causing the vehicle to lose control and come to a stop.
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
The suspect was then subdued and taken into custody at the scene. The incident was subsequently handled by police according to regulations. Minnesota. On January 11, 2021, an officer observed Ronnie Price operating a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, committing a traffic violation and initiated a stop, but the driver immediately fled. The pursuit took place in a residential area, with the suspect repeatedly running stop signs and traveling at high speed. Officers executed a pit maneuver, but the suspect quickly regained control and continued fleeing. Subsequent intervention was carried out, causing the vehicle to lose control and come to a stop. Price was taken into custody. Officers discovered a bag of meth concealed in his mouth and a bag of marijuana concealed on his body. The investigation revealed the suspect was wanted for sexual assault. He was later sentenced to 49 days in jail for fleeing along with related charges. Main
Huge rural hospitals are struggling, but Senator Susan Collins came to the rescue, delivering critical federal funding for upgraded facilities and life-saving diagnostic equipment. Susan Collins does her job, and our hospitals benefited. Call and thank her for delivering for Maine.
When life moves fast, your car has the pep to keep up. From routine maintenance to major repairs, you've got America's Car Care Veterans at the ready. Open 7 days a week because you've got more important duties. Pep Boys, at your service since 1921.
4 in custody. Sorry, Bob, are you? Over the show. Are you hurt? You hurt?
Radio unit, South Stand all unit, South Stand radio.
That one's kind of wrong, too hard. Hey, make up. Did it go wrong? Yeah. All right. Thank you for stopping, okay? You all right, man? No injuries or anything? No, everything.
just got zero gain, and it'll go all the way.
Love Island, it's all kicking off.
Step up to the plate this summer with your Irving Rewards card. 1 and 2 fuel swipes win a fuel discount of up to 75 cents per gallon. Every swipe is a chance to win free fuel for a year. Hit a home run and win with Irving Rewards.
come around to you. I'll come, I'll come. Yeah, it's gonna be the backyard over here by us. Alright, I gotta check shoot your hip, okay? Any more weapons on you? I'm gonna move you around, he's gonna hurt me, but I gotta make sure you're not hit, okay? Alright. Response from the girl. What's that? One guy? Yeah. Guys gonna be back. He's gonna be back here somewhere. We got him? Yeah, we got him. Thanks, Dale. What's that? Yeah. Are you feel pain anywhere? 3634. Come out with 103. Try to find a gun that you got. You got low with your cars. My car is on Parker Road. Yeah, there with your cars. I'll see you hit. No more. No more. Okay. Alright, let's get up.
'98's out with him. He stopped in the parking lot. He's taken off again. He's got white male tattoos on his face.
Incident assigned.
They're going to be an elevator.
So bad, but so strong.
Your call has been updated.
Come a little bit closer. Jay and the Americans. Come a little bit closer, you're my gun. So big and so strong. Come a little bit closer. That's a big burst of energy. Who knew such a small package could carry such a big burst? What'd I say? Come a little bit closer, my gun. So big and so strong. Come a little bit closer. And the night is so young. La la la
Just say knocking out everybody's ACE2 receptor, which has the ability to cool down the engine. In other words, it's causing everybody's engine to run hot.
Work non-stop for
incredibly extended periods of time. I don't know how they get the energy to do that, but it's yeah. So welcome Brizzy and Hap Chappy. I always wondered about that. Super J.
Oh, I just played on that then.
You know, we're doing the best we can. You know, we want. This is the thing with where we're at in humanity. You know, we want to see our world restored. You know, we don't want to have to be dealing with all of the situations that are happening around the world. Oh, Yelena, bless you. That's really kind of you guys. Honestly, you're all really wonderful human beings. You know, thank you so much for supporting me the way you are. This is one of the biggest things. You know, I have put a GoFundMe out there on the Facebook, because I know we're very close. Once these 7 pages are sorted, we will find a benefactor. I already have a very lovely woman from Scotland who I'm in touch with, and she is on about finding benefactors for a very similar concept. So I know that the puzzle pieces and the pieces on the chessboard are being moved. I know that we're one of them. It just takes a huge amount of time, and for whatever reason the universe has said, no, you need to be, you know, you need to be in the position you're in until, you know, and then the door will open, like it did before. You know, we did have 50,000, well, in total it was about 60 plus everything that came on. So about 4 years ago we had £60,000 come in, which supported 4 of us. Of course that doesn't last forever, so it eventually ran out. But there are people out there who will support what we're doing, who believe in us. You know, just like you guys. I mean, look at the wonderful donations. So Yelena says, big hugs from Bosnia, dear James. Get some rest and lay down for a day. Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been needing to. You know, but ironically, Monday, so what I normally do is every Monday after the live, I have a day where I just kind of do nothing, because leading up to this Sunday, and everything that we're doing through the week with the content and the videos and the posts, I'm really on it very, very hardcore. So Monday I tried to slow down a bit, but ironically there were a few really wonderful contacts that come forward, so I got on a few calls on Monday, and before you know it, you haven't stopped. So, but it's good. This is what I'm built for, you know. So I appreciate all of your wonderful humility and your understanding, guys. It's very kind of you, and your wonderful support. So Zorin, Deborah, Yelena, thank you so much for the wonderful donations. Very kind of you. But other than feeling, you know, a little bit tired, I feel very good. You know, so I in my head I've been slowly organising everything, gathering myself, making sure that things are, you know, going on the right path. And I don't know if when was it that I don't know if it was, no, it was last week. So it was last week that I did the talk at Bryn Celli Ddu. So it was a wonderful burial mound here in Wales. Excuse me, in North Wales. And a lady had taken a picture, and she took a picture of myself and the lady Linda, so wonderful woman, and we were going up to the top of Bryn Celli Ddu, and we were placing a little bit of the centre of Australia in the top of this mound, and she took a picture and it was 11:11, and I've got that picture now. I haven't asked Linda if she's okay with me. I'm sure she would be, but maybe I'll share that next week when we go into a full live. So Peridot, Miem, Lenny from the Glade, thank you all for tuning in. Peridot says, hello everyone, I've not been able to attend for some time, happy to be back. I've been through a lot of loss and grief over the past month. I welcome your prayers. Well, we send our heartfelt love and prayers to you. I'm very sorry that you're going through a challenging time. Please do accept and receive and feel our love. I hope that you are okay and everything's alright. It's a difficult time, you know, so I'm very sorry that you're going through that. Really do heartfelt send our love to you, without a doubt. So my mother says, I know you shared one. I have had like Morse code sound in my right ear and still haven't. I googled it and it's the angel realm sending a message to stay on the path. Yeah, very interesting. You know, and that's the thing, guys. It's fascinating. You know, I've had a few inclinations over the years, especially the past 3 years. I had some whispers. Well, I'm trying to always keep things a little bit grounded because we're going very public, but I had some intuitions, really strong intuition come through, and that hasn't opened up yet. That door hasn't opened up, but everything else that was assigned to that intuition has opened up. So, you know, we're just, for 3 years I've known what I've needed to do what we're doing, and it hasn't come through yet. So, you know, it is what it is. Typos, very tired today, but yeah, I'm feeling you. Your typos are through the comments, my typos are through my mouth. So Mary says, thank goodness for funny words and the internet telecommunications, without a doubt. And Deborah says, you have a lot of responsibility now, you need to get your rest so you can carry on your work. Absolutely. Please lean on me if you need extra energy. Oh, that's wonderful, Deborah. Very kind of you. And yeah, I will absolutely do that. You know, and thank you for the wonderful lessons and stories and wisdom and information that you shared throughout the Facebook group and with me. It's wonderful that we finally got finally connected. I had a little bit of a cheer when I saw your post, so thank you for that. That was very, very kind to you. A Real Creation says, please family send prayers for rain to western US. Our forests are burning over 500,000 acres and many lost their homes. That's awful. That's another thing. How have I not heard that? Last week it was the earthquakes, this week it was the fires. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll go on for about an hour today, do a very strong meditation at the end, a bit of a longer meditation. Amber, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. So thank you for being here, Amber. I am, running on a little bit lower energy today, so I hope I hope that's okay. We're going to go for a little bit of a lower session this week, and we'll go for our full session again next week. But thank you for tuning in. Wonderful for you to be here. So yeah, that's all for A Real Creation. We 100% will, and we'll definitely add that into our meditation at the end. We'll probably, I'll sort of do a first bit of the meditation, and then we'll go with one with David. But I did also see your comment about the content creation. I would love to talk to you about it. At the minute, I've wanted an assistant for a very long time. Obviously, I do have a very dear friend of mine who's offering to help, but having a couple of people to help would be incredible, because I can do the videos to a very high quality. I know how to edit them to a high quality. A few of the videos that I've done have been doing really well, but I can't get them out quick enough. The way this is the thing with social media, it does not honour creative time. So there's a very interesting concept. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Seth material. There's a book in the Seth material which is, one of the books is called the magical approach, and in that book it speaks about creative time, and the other one is creative time and sort of modern time, the way that we work as a modern society. And creativity works in its own time. For people to do incredible works and to do incredible things, creativity works in its own timing. But because of the way that society is set up, we're often having to force these things out to get the balls rolling, to do things and create things. So, it creates an imbalanced approach to things. So, yeah, Deborah says, yes, I read them years ago. Yeah, it's interesting. The Seth Speaks I've got through, about 70-80% twice, 2 or 3 times. But anyway, David says, Solar Storm hit me hard. Well, that's probably what I'm feeling, my friend. So, that's probably what I'm feeling. Anika, welcome. Sorry, I might have missed a few people. So, Anika, thank you for joining in. Mary, if I haven't said, Karina, prayers to US and parts of Europe that are burning due to extreme heat. Prayers for rain, absolutely. We will 100% do that at the end, without a doubt. So I think that's everybody. Anika and Lenny, thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate you all very much. So yeah, it's been a very powerful week. Like I say, the pages are really ready. Lucas obviously needs to go through them. I've got a bit that I need to still do on them. But once we've got them ready, and we've got the source material for those ready as well, we can start going out speaking to people, and that's where the massive change is going to happen. So we've got a very busy couple of weeks. So Lucas does a lot of theatrical performing, and I've been helping him by doing a bit of it. So last year we performed at a castle in Wales called Harlech Castle, and I was Belimaur, the wolf god, so I had a wolf headdress on and things like that. And Lucas was an ogre and a goblin and a faun. So we're doing that again this year. So that's I don't know how that's going to affect the Sunday lives as well, because that's a lot of that takes a lot of time and energy. But we're going to be doing that each weekend, so I'll share some videos and footage and photos with you guys about that. We'll be doing it at Harlech Castle and Cricket Castle in North Wales. So we'll be doing 4 weekends, 4 Saturdays, and I think one of them is 2 Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, it's been interesting. But Blas says that it is hot. Maybe some people will finally believe in global warming. Interesting. Tree Dog, welcome. Tree Dog and yeah, Brizzy, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Lydia, greetings from Santa Cruz, California. Is that California? Just to double check. Been checking in every week, but also caught up with work stress. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming in, and I'm glad that you've been able to catch up with some of the stuff that we've got going on. That's really good to hear. Anika says, yes, heat wave here in Spain has been crazy. Oh, wow, yeah. We had a big heat wave here a few days, but it's been a bit cooler here in North Wales. So, yeah, interesting. Hurry culture kills creativity. I know this well, being an artist myself, no doubt. Mary says, there is not wrong way to toil, may be true, but it is not toil at all, would be a travesty. Sorry, Mary, you might have to rewrite that. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that comment. Please feel free to rewrite that. Peridot says, I feel your support and love very much. Thank you, everyone. Absolutely. I wish you the greatest healing and peace possible. So, without a doubt. And Yakish says, rain dance times. Absolutely. I haven't got my maracas, but we could. Although I should be making a joke about that. It's really awful. What wildlife will be experiencing out there, and there is, wildfires. There is I know that the Native Americans used to do slash and burn, or swidden, is it? Where they would burn the land and it all goes down, and then new growth happens, so they would keep rotating periodically. But a lot of it is probably very artificial now because of the way that agricultural farming is. So it is what it is. So yes, guys. So we're about 19 minutes in. So we'll do our normal introduction. However, it will obviously be different because we're not going to be talking about all the things today. But again, I appreciate all of your understanding, guys. It's very kind of you. I wanted to come on still because I think it's lovely for us to still connect with each other every Sunday, and we can say that we've still connected even today. Deborah says, the heat and humidity have been wicked here in Ohio. The light from Father Sol is different. The light codes are more intense. I have been expanding my inner self to receive your wonderful. That's lovely to hear. Absolutely. David called solar storms solar astrology. Yeah, very fascinating. Well, I know that we've had a lot of solar flares and things like that, and it connects with that idea of the solar flash. That's something that David talked about quite a lot. Because what we see in the world, there's a lot of very difficult things that we see in the world, and there is that question of how that fits in with the future that we're talking about. But we've got to let it play out, haven't we? We've got to trust in the process, do what we're here to do, follow the path, and it will come to pass. So, all right then, guys, let's come across to our full monitor. So again, I want to, and this next week we will probably go into this because I might finish the slides from last week, and maybe that can be our little intermediary this week. But I do want to explore with you the pristine origins. Okay, so this is it is connected to the Anastasia material, so the ringing cedars of Russia, of which some of that we do have in here today, and a lot of it just is fascinating, and to me makes a lot of sense. Now I know there are a lot of people in the world that are very focused on scientific premises and what we can prove through science. I totally respect and appreciate that because it gives for some people it gives a validity and an surety of concept, and then it gives it more authority to talk about things. However, I think there is something to be said about what we don't know. Alright, so for example, what will happen when we restore the Great Global Garden? What will happen when we start to restore the ecosystems and wildlife?
True manliness is understanding that you need to pay attention to your stick. Dr. Squatch is aluminum free, natural origin, and comes in incredibly manly scent, so choose not.
Where? Coney Island?
Reminder of the risks that NYPD officers assume each and every day, and how we must still work to lift the scourge of violence from our city.
Thistle, and I also want they were really close to wanting to put pesticides and chemicals on these thistles to get rid of them. But what they found is that the lady, I have it in my slides, a butterfly that migrated from France, came all of the way over to England and laid its eggs on this thistle, and within one season the whole thistle problem had gone. You know, they migrated in millions, literally, this is what they say. So it's, you know, whenever we have these situations and we notice the intelligence of nature, it's something to really focus on. So, yeah, anyway. So, as always, I will probably keep these slides for next week as well. So, thank you, David. One amazing thing, by the way, oh my goodness, I have to show you this. So, I was slightly skeptical about this gentleman who, hold on a second, I was slightly skeptical about this gentleman who was suggesting teachings with David Wilcock. So look at this, look. So I use the MKV. So when you click on here, when we open this up, look at this. So this is going to really trip a few people out listening to this, listening to the sound for this video. Hold on a second. Let me just get this up. Come on then, press play. Let's go. Can you hear that? So, look at this, look! Isn't that funny? It's a really, it's season 1 of the Wisdom Teachings. Isn't that crazy? So I was really skeptical. I did not know that this guy would be telling the truth, but he absolutely is. So I have to give him his credit. You know, I've done it. I wanted to do it myself before I talked about it. But so that's season 1. So far, I've only downloaded up to season 9, I think it is. So let's just have a look here. Yeah, so season 9, episode 3.
So when you become more excited,
isn't that crazy?
That's usually when
so we've literally, I'll try and post the link. So I'll post it in the Telegram and things like that. Go over to Karen's Facebook group, Wisdom Teachings with David Wilcock. And here it is. Yeah, so there is, they translated it in, I believe it's Russian or I can't remember where the gentleman is based. Yeah, so this is in the group. So this guy posted it, but so this is the link here. Let me just try and get it a second. Where is it? All available seasons. Here we go. So this is the link that he shared. So if you guys, I'll pop this in the comments and I'll try to pop it in the description as well. So I'll just pop that in there. I hope I can post it. So that's the link, yeah? So you should be able to save that. I can pin that too, actually. Okay, that's good. I don't know if I can change the description. Hold on. I'll do that afterwards. So basically, this is the link. So you have to use a torrent though, and that's what I was really uncomfortable with, because I wasn't sure, you know, I can't afford a VPN at the minute, so you can, but you can do it. You can do it. So you have to understand. You got to figure out for yourself whether you're comfortable to do this. But yeah, look at that. Look, isn't that crazy? So I'm up to season 9. I will try to go all of the way up to season 30. But as you see here, Yelena, look, it says seasons 1-11 have built-in Bulgarian and English subtitles. So yeah, that's very interesting. So that's what it says there. So Bulgarian and English subtitles, and he does give you the ability to use the torrent. So if you guys look into that, you might be able to, you know, to figure it out. Soul Coach Suzanne, thank you so much for saying hello, sweet Quentin. So good to be back with you all and to care and precious family. Absolutely, thank you so much for being here, Suzanne. Sorry I haven't got back to you, and there's a few people I haven't got back to yet. Sue Skidmore, if you're in here, I know you've emailed me. I haven't had a chance to respond yet. Like I say, we're only going to go live for about an hour today, guys, if that is okay. Just to sort of say hello. I'm pretty pooped out. But next week we will be back full power and we'll be doing full live. So yes, make sure guys, if you wanted to save this, oh, no way. Oh, blah, that's awful. Sorry about that. Can you hear us now? Sorry that's the case. So yeah, save this link guys, or I'll try to paste it in a few places. You might have to give me a couple of days because I'm going to just slow down after this, but I will paste this. And yes, this is all of David's wisdom teachings, which I thought was awesome, really, really amazing. So, this is obviously live stream number 11, so these are all of our most recent live streams. You can pause that if you like. Last week's live stream, we went through the I am and where it is shown in many of the ancient religions and cultures. We looked at the symbolism for the I am and also the toroidal field and other elements of that. So, of course, today we were going to be looking at the pristine origins, nature, and what it looks like when we start to restore it to the highest level. We probably won't get that far today. Meditation schedule will only be one, so we'll do one, we'll do a little bit of meditation with each other. If it goes over an hour, that's fine. We'll do a bit of a meditation with each other and then we'll do a little bit with David. And then if it's alright with you guys, we'll come back next week. Some interesting 333 synchronicities. A few of them are quite nerdy, so you'll have to just bear with me. But interestingly enough, so oh my goodness, I really am tired because I'm airing Brockovich. So this lady here, Erin Brockovich, has been pushing back against the AI data centers, but what was fascinating is in 1996 she won a settlement for $333 million. Right, and the 333 sync's been very bizarre with this, okay, because not only that, but when you look here, Microsoft is planning 4 new data centers in the United Kingdom at £330 million. So there was another 33 sort of synchronicity there, because the AI data centers have been something I focused on a little bit this week, because they're quite intense. They're taking up a lot of land, and they're really, they're of no benefit to humanity as far as I'm concerned. Yes, the progression of AI in the digital world, but that is taking us down a very a bad path.
There were 4 adults that were hit.
So
yeah, I wonder if it was
these really are
somebody in specific.
This gentleman here.
Psycho.
Excuse me. First time I've yawned on the
Assume
stream.
that
Wow,
was
that's
but I don't know.
The adult's a woman, a 21-year-old woman. She's in very critical condition. There were 4 children who were hit, ranging in age from 6 to 6. One was 6, one was 7, one was 12, one was 14 years old, and it's just the stunning type of violence that people just can't understand. Like, how does this happen? Somebody just barges into this barbecue and opens fire. So we're still waiting. That suspect is still at large. They have not captured that suspect.
That's crazy with as many cameras as they have, and what if they have those shot spotters out there in Coney Island? I don't know. When a shot goes off, the machine detects it, alerts police. How this person was able to shoot that mass shooting 8 people and just skip away.
I'm sure that they will eventually. So there's no word on any type of motive yet, or what could possibly have triggered this off. But it was just, it definitely wasn't random because of the location. They went in there, they knew who was going to be in there, and then they started shooting.
One decision that I'm most proud of is definitely signing on to go back to school, fulfilling a dream I didn't realize I had. You can do this. It doesn't matter what is happening in your life. This is a doable thing. The larger public safety.
I don't think at this point we don't really know that yet. We're still waiting for more information, which we're expecting from them this afternoon. The other thing of note, though, it was less than a month ago that the Brooklyn District Attorney. There was a very, very big gang takedown right in the Coney Island area. And sometimes after those, there's retaliatory shootings. It's not clear if this had anything to do with that at all, but that's obviously a question that I have in my mind, simply because of the fact that this wasn't at a public park. This wasn't in a
Just said retaliatory, maybe?
and sometimes after those, there's retaliation right in the Coney Island area. The Brooklyn District Attorney, there was a very, very big gang takedown right in the Coney Island area. And sometimes after those, there's retaliatory shootings. It's not clear if this had anything to do with that at all.
That's crazy, man. These people just don't care. And then you got to think about those kids that grow up with violence, being shot, gunshots, shots flying every day.
There was some
How do you
particular motive for that particular location yet, and we're going to be awaiting more information, but a terrible way to end.
NYPD officer was shot amid the July 4th holiday as well.
Cops getting shot too.
Yes, and this was another just really tragic thing. Also in Brooklyn, in a different neighborhood in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, and these officers were sitting in an unmarked car. They were part of a detail that was sent out to certain hot spots throughout the city, and this one in particular in Brooklyn and in Crown Heights. They were sitting in the car when they observed what they say was an 18-year-old individual. Here's the gun that they found on the suspect. This individual, they saw the gun. The officers exited, one of them a detective, they exited the vehicle. They tried to engage, according to Police Commissioner Tish's words, they tried to engage the individual in a conversation, and then this he's 18 years old, the suspect. He started firing at them. One officer was hit in the back. Thankfully, it was where his bulletproof vest was. Another had what they're calling contusions to the face, and the officers fired multiple shots at the suspect. He was not hit apparently at all. They ended up tasing him, but not before he had shot up the police car that they were, or the unmarked car, I should say, that they were in. He shot up the windshield, shot up the rear view, the rear window of that, but he was taken into custody. So we're waiting for a lot more details about that case as well, what was involved in it, and who this 18-year-old individual is. But to find that kind of gun, to find that kind of gun, what is he doing out? It was about just after 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know, man. These kids, something else. These kids, teenagers. Oh, here's a short clip too. Cops make desperate dash after Coney Island shooting. And a lot happened last night. This is another situation that I'm curious about. In Chino, something happened in Chino, firework explosion, kids injured, everybody injured.
New details in a massive fireworks explosion in Chino. 3 people have been sent to the hospital and a child was hurt.
Eyewitness News reporter Monica De Anda joins us live in Chino with the latest on what seems to be a very active scene still here this morning. Good morning, Monica.
Caroline.
Tim, Abigail, good morning. Yeah, 4 people were injured in this fireworks explosion, including a child. That's according to Chino police. And you can see here behind me, the investigation is still very much active. Right in the middle of the street there, you see all of the debris from that explosion, and police still out here since yesterday scouring the scene, trying to piece together exactly what happened. Eyewitnesses on scene told us last night that they saw investigators combing through the neighborhood in hopes of finding body parts. Chino police has not confirmed that information for us or the condition of those injured, but we want you to take a look at this, the moment people took off running after that explosion. Watch.
Wow.
You hear the fear in their voices there. We're told this all started around 8:30 last night when a large group of people were gathered on D Street for a fireworks display. When those fireworks lit up, the explosion happened. Chino police says when they showed up, they found a car on fire on that street and several people injured, including some with serious injuries. Take a look at this video from Air 7. It shows you the aftermath. Debris left scattered all over the front yard and the street there. An eyewitness told us he was inside his mom's house when he heard the loud explosion and went running to see what happened.
Clearly looked like there was a bunch of illegal fireworks in the trunk. I don't know how the trunk got lit up, but obviously you can see from the video that the trunk hatch was busted open, and that was where the point of the explosion was. We're always concerned about that. You always hear about it in the news, but nothing that's close to home or nothing that severe. It was crazy. No one, my kids are shook right now when I said that you want to touch the fireworks.
Chino police detectives believe a large quantity of fireworks ignited, causing the explosion that ultimately severely injured 3 people and a child and set a nearby car on fire. Now, as we come back out here live, you can see there are still detectives out here on the scene, again, working this area, trying to piece together what happened, and hopefully answer some questions as to how this explosion happened, how many people were hurt, and what the condition of those 4 people are, including that young child. And I can tell you, even now, about 15 minutes ago, we heard fireworks right here in this area, so people really have to be careful, because this is one example of how things can go seriously wrong and injure so many people. Reporting live from Chino this morning. What do you got there?
Chino, California. Boom. The shooting of Fort Lauderdale too.
The Lieutenant Chimino officers originally got here just after a space right next to this parking garage here off Southwest 2nd Street near 1st Avenue. Let's go ahead and show you what it looked like out here when officers were still on scene. We know the initial calls came in just after 4 o'clock this morning. Again, officers here confirming to us that this was a shooting overnight. No word yet on any suspects or who exactly was behind this. All of this happening next to that garage that I mentioned, which is
Hold
here
on, let me check.
downtown
I was just, Alexa, volume 1. I was just listening to what's going on in Coney Island, the shooting. Oh, they're talking about some specific targeting, certain locations. So yeah, anyways, over in the other live, yeah, John Malice. Why do you think he's mentioning those things? Malins. James Malins. Yeah. Why do you think he's mentioning those things?
The shooting, not...
Oh, Bonnie, thank you for tagging me in this. I didn't know they had video. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you guys this video.
Are you asking
here.
me? Or are you asking for me to answer for others listening? Because I'd respond, I'd answer you differently than I would them. Right, if you're asking me personally, I'd be a little off-put to begin with, because you should already know that, right? So I'm guessing you're asking me. Why? Why would you want me to explain that out loud? Do you think
so
that
this shooting here,
anybody's listening? Are you aware of people listening?
This is the shooting that happened.
And you want them to hear
in New York,
my response to that question?
Around 4 in the morning, walks up to a mobile force detail.
Why do I think he's mentioning those things? What? He's mentioned a lot of things over in this one over here. Yeah.
You not have to be doing this.
He hit one of the officers.
Given freely.
The officer starts running.
You know, there's that very interesting video of that gentleman who's playing on Heath Ledger's Joker, and he's saying that they took the fruit trees, and they did. Where are the fruit trees? You know,
right, and he's going back and out at David Wilcox lives and stuff, talking about that.
This is the challenge that we're in.
So the wisdom teachings, how's that connected to all the other stuff and places and things we've been talking about? Do you remember the wisdom groups
this is the thing.
and wisdom teachings that we had here back years ago? You remember the wisdom groups, right? Do you remember what kind of group that was? They used to meet here. Was it Mondays? And they'd have coffee. They were one of the only ones we'd let go into the kitchen and get their own ice and stuff. That was prohibited, but because they were such normal regulars and stuff.
Hence why I have blue light glasses. My eyesight's fine.
Yeah, this was back in early 2000s. They were still here up until, my goodness, probably about 10 years ago, yeah, it seems.
In this idea of the pristine origins, our way of life, what we've been offered is
So do you remember what kind of groups that was and what kind of people were in those groups? We used to call them kooks.
We have to understand that we're all doing the best that we can with what we've been given. You know, and if we're to extend
Yeah, some didn't like that, so they called themselves cooks. A bunch of kooks. It's okay, we're cuckoo too. Oh, goodness. You know, some take offense to being human, some don't. I don't know, I guess. Constructive criticism? Compliments that they don't feel are a compliment, right? Right, it could be just someone's a negative person. You could say anything. Wow, what a good day. What a nice day. What's nice about it? You know, just immediate debate, opposing energy, wanting conflict, disagreement. People like disagreement for some reason. It gives them something to figure out or be right about. I don't know. It's like there's so much. I mean, life itself, you don't really have to conjure up anything, do you?
Then you're taxed.
I don't know, unless you're trying to sell something, then that's your business. I don't know. Or you're just dealing with a lot of crazy people and you gotta come up with a clever way to wake them the fuck up. And you don't have to, you can let people stay lost, right? Yeah, I think when it comes into public safety issues and severe abuse is when human rights and activists and forces get involved. Yeah, and the druggies and criminals and idiots and psychos and people that don't understand basic human functioning and pop pills and drink a lot of alcohol or whatever it is, you know. Some or all of the above. That's them. And they're very sick, lost, demented people who have a lot of childish beliefs. But yeah, no, I remember, the wisdom groups. There was a lot of people that heard voices, sensitive people, abused people, kind of hermits, has-beens, their own families. Yeah, nobody wanted them around. They're just a nuisance, annoying. Another mouth to feed. They're embarrassing too to be around, you know, especially with the kind of lifestyles you live. You don't want some kind of retard black sheep like that around, screwing up your reputation and destroying your lives and messing up all the deals you coulda, shoulda, woulda had. We've heard it all from these psychos around here. Most of them have moved away or they're dead or in jail. Yeah, pretty sad. I know, they'd always make fun of those people too, but I liked them. I'd listen in sometimes. Oh, yeah, before the group started in too, remember it was kind of scattered. Do you remember those crazy people that used to come in here from Am High? Because this was Catholic Charities, yeah? Bread of Life Kitchen was here, School for the Blind. Yeah, and remember the crazy people that would come in randomly and play the piano? Karen, she'd always talk to herself, yeah? Or she was talking to something not there, right? You'd be standing there and she'd all of a sudden she'd look in one direction and she'd go, "I told you not to touch me there." There was nobody there. You know what, I think somebody might have been flicking rubber bands at her. And maybe she just thought something else and they were fucking with her. Yeah, my mom and her brother and George Oben, the janitor, they used to fuck with people. George is dead now. He died of cancer. See, my mother's brother, he was freaking out about 10 years ago, yeah. Some druggies from New York wanted to kill him. His son has died in a bathroom of an overdose since. One of his kids, he had 6 kids, huh? One of his sons, little Lucas, he died of an overdose. I know, he was telling me about the Turks or something. Remember right before he died too, he was messaging me something about the FBI busting down his door. It's all on Facebook. You'll see the messages there on our messenger. So sad. I know, we're very aware. Yeah, the people around us, a lot of these psychos and nasty fucks, protecting sick, fucking murderous pedophiles. Yeah, you are, you know, and we're not talking about our parents. And you can go ahead and say, are you gonna let her talk about you that way? No, we're talking about you. You fucking nasty state workers, our nasty fucking siblings, some of our nasty fucking cousins, a lot of nasty fucking people around here, many have moved away. We're talking to you, you nasty fucks. You drug addict pieces of shit. We're not talking to our parents. In fact, the private investigator, myself, and others have been trying to tell them for many years how you people have been taking advantage of them. And they love it. And you can keep licking each other's assholes all the way to hell and back. We can't change that. That doesn't mean we love them any less. Or that we're going to stop speaking the truth. Right, we're concerned about our children. And we're trying to get the other people to understand that too. We're not looking to get along with anybody or fix anybody's mental illness or get anybody to believe anything they don't want to believe. This is America. You can believe and say whatever the fuck you want. Land of the free, home of the motherfucking brave. Amen, hallelujah, Jesus motherfucking Christ. Holy Mary motherfucking Joseph. Moses, you motherfucking cunt. What a fucking cunt Moses is, huh? Split that Red Sea, you motherfucking boss. What's up? Oh, man. I bet Mother Mary was a bitch. I bet they cut her fucking tongue out, and that's why she was so quiet and silent. Hear no evil. Speak no evil. See no evil. It's kind of hard when you got no tongue and eyes and your ears are filled with mites. My eyes have been gouged out, my tongue's been cut off. My ears are filled with mites. Could I even explain this to you in such a state? I know, people are fucked, man. They really need to grow up. So yeah, we're at the Augusta, Governor Hill Mansion in Augusta, Maine. And I have 4 children here, and my youngest 2 are in the hands of sick, murderous pedophiles. I remember David Wilcock. Didn't he vaporize himself? Yeah, the sick fuck with my children, he threw my phone when I mentioned his name back in 2010, 11. Threw my phone. He got really fucking pissed. Why? Yeah, we were already concerned with what was going on. People killing themselves and doctors being targeted, myself being targeted, the fucking psychos around here calling me a bad mother and that I shouldn't have children and we were going to bring back measles and make people eat maggots. I know it's amazing when you hear that come out of these fucking big mouths on big stages, claiming to be trying to take out the pedo rings. Bohemian Grove. What's up, Sandy? Did you find the hook? Sue me!
Bats an eyelid. They all clap. They're waving their little flags. Yay! Look at the monarchy.
Right, yeah, so anyways, if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions as to how we can get the folks around here to wake up and help these hostages that have been fucked and tortured for years, and help explain to the public how that child and animal pornography gets fed out to these activist groups, and how people, you know, doctors and people like David Wilcock and all these different investigators and people we've worked with over the years, yeah, infectious disease specialists, neurologists, biofeedback specialists, investigators, druggies, pieces of shit, the many me's, the many faces of Mary. Yeah, Sybil. Thank you, Sybil. Sybil and Eve are my 2 best friends, you know? Sybil and Eve. Eve and Sybil. Do you have any more of that gum? You need to stay out of my personal affairs. Dare you ask me such questions? All right, next class. Hi. You're welcome. All right, just what I was hoping for. oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy.
You know, we've got to start developing the ability to turn bailiffs away, because otherwise we continue to be debt slaves to money, you know, and it's crazy. Anika says, yes, I even tried to talk to my brother about chemtrails and he says I'm crazy. Yeah, you know, there's so many articles out there at the minute about geoengineering. What are we doing? You know? Why are people being like debunking chemtrails? They've admitted it. Like, what are we doing? what are we doing? What's going on, guys? Like, you know, people are like, oh, you know, they've admitted it. It's obvious, you know? Anyway. Sorry. So, if corrupt statutes become erroneous to the common good, the people have a right to withdraw their consent in order to defend their rights, which is exactly what we've just been talking about, and indeed they have an obligation and a duty to do so, because only the people can redress the corruption of their government. Haven't we just said that, right? So we have literally just said that we have to start developing the courage to say no. You know, even if we're on our own for this time, you know, we've got to be able to start saying no and stop paying. Yeah, we've got to stop paying our bills. We have to start doing this. Statutes are contracts. Statutes prescribe the terms and conditions of commercial contracts, relying on their effect upon your consent. Okay? The difference between what is lawful and what is legal is a matter of life and death, literally. What is lawful is for the living people, what is legal is for dead corporate entities. Legal equals fiction, statute equals statute, legislation, legibus statute, act is the act of a statute. The law is the common law and it is the foundation of justice for living people. Laws serve all people equally. Laws defend our unalienable rights, provide reparations to the injured, and through them we can live in peace and harmony. The law is the definition of the people's power and is common sense. The law protects living people from harm, loss and fraud. Statutes are the enactments of the legislator that apply to publicly registered legal entities as franchises of the public state. Statutes offer limited privileges and benefits to artificial persons of various kinds, prescribing contract, rules and regulations by consent. Statutes govern legal entities as a franchise benefit to the public state. Statutes are not laws. The law is from the people. So the whole premise of this is that artificial persons or corporations, they are not living beings. Okay, government is a corporation, it is not a living entity. Okay, it is a conglomeration of people and they are subject to law. Okay, so the whole point of this very jargon-based word salad is that it is all about understanding that you and your natural law is the highest premise. Okay, so the law, not legal, law. Okay, law. That is the premise. That is the living person. So your universal law comes from your heart. Okay, it comes from your heart. It comes from your being. Okay. Yeah, and this is the other thing, you know, so they're not, monies aren't even being spent properly anyway, so it's very silly. Statutes are from the state. If the people's sovereign authority, partly delegated to their government, is turned against the sovereign people, the public trust is betrayed. Sadly, centuries of systemic monetary, legal and political corruption have deeply subverted our government, which has been incorporated to serve the debt money system of bondage, extracting wealth for a global power elite who rule at the expense of the majority. Yeah? Look at that for a sentence. Did you hear that? Yeah? Sadly, centuries of systemic monetary, legal and political corruption have deeply subverted our government, which has been incorporated to serve the debt money system of bondage, extracting wealth for a global power elite who rule at the expense of the majority. That's exactly what's going on. Okay? So that right now, and I will get back to the comments shortly, my friends, that right now is exactly what we're going through. Okay? Word for word, it's worded very well. This is the situation that we're experiencing. Okay? It is very tiring being a conspiracy theory. Well, you see, this is the upsetting thing, Elena, is the word conspiracy is a weapon against us. You know, we're just rational thinkers. Yeah? Rational thinkers, critical thinkers. It's not, you know, let me just look you in the eyeballs when I say this. You know, this that's a style, that word. You know, we are rational thinkers. We look at N911, yeah, we look at 911, remember what happened? You watch the footage, okay? You look at the building structure. You look at the situation. People said it, conspiracy, and I'm like, you know, it's a controlled demolition. You know, what are we doing? What are we doing? Obviously, right? The whole thing that happened 5 years ago, nonsense. You know, protection. You can go into a restaurant, you got to wear it, and then when you sit down, you can take it off. Like, what are we doing? You know, critical, rational thinking. It's not conspiracy. It's rational thinking. I sit there and I think, okay, I go in with it on my face. I sit down, group of people, surrounded by people. I take it off my face. And what are we doing? You know? It's, again, there is just a level that we have to understand that we are not what they say. We are those people who are sat there thinking, hang on a minute, something isn't right. Okay. Rationality is dead. Well, hopefully not. That, book 10, is it book 10, Lenny? Anti-rationality. Yeah, book 10. Yeah. The anesthetic. So for anybody who's wondering what I'm talking about, in Anasta, Vladimir refers to a term called anti-rationality. And that's what he said was what was happening with a lot of humanity and society. And, you know, that sentence certainly makes a lot of sense, without a doubt. Yakish says, David did a video called Financial Tyranny about the USA bank and corruption. Yeah, there's Annie's a little bit Welsh, she's probably not here. But, oh, James, what are those movies? You guys might be able to help me. What are the movies that talk about the stuff that happens in the banks? They're really good. They're on YouTube, really well put together. Anybody know? They're exposing a lot of what happened with the banks, with the people who run the banks, the Federal Reserve, the central banking system. Oh, it's gone out of my brain. Need rest. Need rest. Come on, James. No, quickly. Anyway, one you guys might know. Zeitgeist. There you go, bro. Yeah, Lucas got it. Zeitgeist. So the Zeitgeist films are very good.